Hey, I'm Caroline, a mental health counselor with Naya Clinics, and I want to talk today about complex PTSD and emotional flashbacks. Complex PTSD is a flashback that is felt mostly in the body that can express itself in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And it's essentially when our animal brains cannot differentiate between traumatic time periods from the past and the present moment. PTSD tends to show itself as a visual memory. It's essentially, it arrests your body in similar ways, but you can remember a specific moment in time, you can picture it and relate it directly back to that moment. Whereas complex PTSD relates mostly to a whole period of time where you suffered traumatic feelings, stress. For example, COVID, doctors and nurses working during COVID in the emergency rooms, they were around the amount of uncertainty and death and pain that they were around for 2 years straight, I imagine could perhaps have resulted in some complex PTSD symptoms. And it can show itself by paralyzing your body, causing muscles to fully tense, and throwing you back into this childlike state where you feel helpless. You feel worthless. You feel extreme amounts of shame. Those thoughts of, am I worthy of love? I'm not worthy of love. I think I'm broken. I think I've never been worthy of love, and I don't think I'll ever have love. I feel helpless and worthless, and that inner critic comes screaming at you and terrorizes your brain. So it's that intense shame, the brain terror of the inner critic, and that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. I think one of the first ways to begin to work with emotional flashbacks is to know which of those responses you have. So you might be in a freeze response if you are somebody that deals with stress or extreme stress or trauma by numbing out, disassociating, getting in that sort of daydream-like state, isolating yourself. You lose track of time by scrolling or eating to numb yourself out. You might be in a flight response if you're a workaholic or a perfectionist, if you throw yourself into the job so that you don't have anything else to think about. Or if you lean on substances to make you feel anything other than the trauma that is causing those feelings of worthlessness. Or risk-taking to flood your system with adrenaline, again, to just feel anything bigger than the fear, worthlessness, and helplessness that you feel otherwise. You might be in fawn if you find yourself to be a people pleaser, to focus on other people's problems rather than your own, because at least you can fix those. At least there's something you can do to help with those. Or maybe if I help with other people's, I can figure my own out. Either way, you're avoiding what it is that you're feeling. Perhaps you tend to have a lack of boundaries or some codependent tendencies. That sort of tends to lean into a fawn trauma response. Or fight. Maybe your emotions explode. Anything that leads to a sort of aggressive behavior. Maybe you get so flooded by those trauma feelings that the energy has to explode outwards, that you can't deal with what's going on inside, so you push it out. Or maybe you seek out completely even unrelated conflict to explain the inner conflict going on inside. So the more that we can begin to understand our tendencies towards these nervous system responses, the more we can get ahead of the emotional flashbacks to begin with. So I hope that starting to become aware of whether you're scrolling or people pleasing or avoiding emotions by overworking yourself or causing fights that are unrelated or out of the blue, I hope those can begin to become signals for you to check in with what's going on. Am I dealing with intense feelings of shame or worthlessness. When have I felt this before? What's happened in the last few weeks that have caused this? Is an anniversary coming up to something big or traumatic that I thought I already dealt with, but now it's popping back up and maybe I should take another look at it. I don't know, but I really hope that they begin to inspire you to do that. And if you or anyone you know is going through some complex trauma, check out our blog. There's a link there with 13 ways that are immediately applicable to start dealing with complex trauma that I haven't talked about. And feel free to reach out through our link below and schedule an online or in-person session with us 24/7 through our portal. We do in-person and online couples and individual sessions, and we'd be happy to help.